Hey everybody, Don Taylor with Franchise Success Partners, and today we have the pleasure of being joined by Carrie Gilly from Franchise Fastlane. Hi, Carrie.
Hello, Don. Good to be here.
Thank you. I want to take a couple seconds and give you some kudos and help our audience understand a little bit about your background. So, Carrie and I work together in the franchising world. She's president of Franchise Fastlane. She's been a serial entrepreneur pretty much her whole career, with a lot of experience in and around franchising. She's been a franchisee with a few brands. She's helped with development on the franchisor side. And now her company that she shares with Ryan is really in the business of helping franchise brands sort themselves out, get cleaned up, and prepared for explosive growth. And that's what they specialize in doing. And so today, Carrie, what I'd like to visit with you about is really on the franchisor side. And the question before us is, what does it take to be successful as an emerging franchise brand?
Big question. A big question.
Sure. And so let's start here. When do these brands normally come to you guys for help?
I wish I could tell you that that's always the same, but it's so different. We just onboarded a brand last week that already has 200 territories sold. But often, I would say that's the exception. I would say most of the time, Don, they come to me after they are maybe 5 to 25 units in, and they're past their friends and family, that initial group that would, they could come up with a special arrangement to prove out the concept. And now they're ready to put their foot down on the gas of explosive growth, but they don't even know how to get started and where to go. And they get frustrated. They'll try it for a couple of years on their own. They'll buy some leads off of the portals. They'll spend their evenings talking to these leads. They can't move them forward. They don't know how to establish a process to really educate a prospect. And they'll get frustrated over time and finally call and say, boy, we need help with this. How do we grow this brand and find the right franchisees to carry our brand flag into markets all across the country? So I would say in most cases, it's micro emerging brands. There's always exceptions to the rule. I certainly have brands that have 100 units, 200 units, 300 units before they even called. And then they reached a point of stagnancy and called and said, can you help us now? But in most cases, it's that micro emerging status.
Awesome. And one thing I've come to know and appreciate is you folks don't work with everybody. So how do you go about vetting these brands and determining who you want to work with?
It's so true. We don't. In fact, in 2020, Don, I talked to 150 brands, over 150 brands when I went back and looked at my CRM. And we brought on, you'll remember, we brought on 7. So we talked to 150 brands to find 7. It has to be right. After years of speaking with brands and trying to find the right brand partners ready for this level of growth, we sat down as an LT, our leadership team, and we established 2 lists of criteria. One that we call necessities. It has to be there. One that we call niceties. And now when I talk to brands and get to know them, I am looking for that necessity listing. Otherwise, it's a consultation call and I'm trying to help them get ready maybe years from now, a couple of years from now. But from brands we would consider today, they have to check everything on that list of necessities, or I won't even take that brand to our LT to consider as a brand fit. And we can talk about that list, but it's things like collaborative ownership. It's financial strength to back up that growth. It's systems and processes so that franchisees really can plug and play into a proven system. It's a strong item 19. It's validation from the current franchisees who love the system. It's a reasonable item 7. It's things you would expect, but we really look for a pretty strict qualification list before we would consider them as the Fastlane partner.
That certainly makes our life easy as a consultant, with all the work that you folks do behind the scenes before we refer a candidate over. We know they're going to be in good hands. Just all the background work that you've done. Sure. What do you feel the founders' priority, the founders of these companies that you're helping to grow? What should their priority be?
A great question. And as I talk to all these brands, I'm always blown away by, I mean, if you ask a founder, what is it that you do? You can almost put the phone down and walk away. And I get it because that's how I feel about Franchise Fastlane. You ask me what I do, and it's my baby. It's what I do. It's my vision. It's my dream. It's my passion. I can probably talk on and on and on about that. And that's what I see. They know their brand, whether it's haircutting or fitness or food or house painting or beauty or garbage or whatever it is,
Right.
they know it. And that's where I would advise to them, you need to keep your focus on what you do every single day. You know, Fastlane's an FSO, a franchise sales organization. We take development off of the plate of those brands because it's not what they do.
Right.
And that's what I would recommend they do in all of those business functions that are outside of their initial realm of expertise. Marketing, find an incredible firm with digital expertise. Don't try to build that yourself right out of the gate. Brand development, reputation management, lease negotiation, site selection, construction, manufacturing. These are things, it's too much for an initial brand to take on right out of the gate in that micro emerging status. My advice would be outsource everything. Focus in on what you do very well. Find first-class partners in everything else. Create an ecosystem that franchisees can come plug into, but you focus on your business and supporting your franchisees in your area of expertise. Outsource the rest.
And some of that even applies to the franchisee level. I love that. I think that's great coaching. Figure out what you do best and hone in on that.
And go do that. Mm-hmm.
There's so much that goes into becoming a successful franchisor. It's very expensive. It takes a lot of time. What does it take for these folks to reach royalty profitability? And why is that so hard?
It's so true. You're right, Don. It's such a challenge. In fact, the IFA reports that there's 4,000 brands right now, franchise brands in the US, and 300 new brands are coming in every year. And most brands, they feel that, you know, ever hitting that royalty sufficiency mark is so challenging. And of the 4,000 brands, only 680 have ever reached that point. 680 of 4,000. And of the 680, only 90 of them did it in under 10 years. So they operated in the red for 10 years. It is not easy. Fran Connect says that close rates in 2020 came in at about 0.5%, and a sales cycle was over 200 days. Brands are spending so much money down on these leads on portals, and they come in, and as a brand founder, as you can imagine, you work all day, you finally get to sit down with your family at dinner, and you have all these messages from leads you bought from a portal. Your chance of closing them are 1 in 2 or 300. It's going to take 200 days. And even though speed to lead is so important, they don't have time. So when they do finally find the time, they call them back. And I hear this from brand founders all the time. They say, I finally call the lead back. And I said, well, then what does your process look like? I don't know. I talk to them for 15, 20 minutes. I send them the FDD and I see if they want to come to Discovery Day. Wow. So it's a lackluster process. So you just look at that and you go, these people, as you know very well, because you talk to these prospects every day, day in, day out, they are thinking about taking out an SBA loan or rolling over their retirement for hundreds of thousands of dollars in many cases to invest in their future. Most of them have been in corporate America for 30 plus years. Right. There's a lot of fear in this process. And your process is 1 20-minute call and then inviting them to Discovery Day. Right. We need something more established than that. And most brands, they just don't have it. So they come in, they try, but ever reaching that point of royalty sufficiency or profitability, it's hard for the prospect because they're not learning about the brand. It's hard for the brand because they really don't get to know the prospects to see if they're a fit. It's very challenging.
Yeah. And the process that you folks install is fantastic because it's really built for the candidate to go through and learn as much as possible and make a great educated decision for their family at the end of it. Mm-hmm.
It really is. It's important. We're talking to them for 6 to 7 straight weeks. We have a call every week, and we have a series by which we educate that prospect from an intro call to a unit economics call to an opportunity to plug in validation because they want to hear from current franchisees that are already in the system, to ask them about a day in the life, to ask them about what their financials look like, and they should be able to do that. We walk through the FDD with them in great detail. We walk through the different items. If you haven't read an FDD, it's overwhelming. What is item 7? What is item 19? We educate them on that. And finally, after going through a series of calls and making sure we feel like we have a match, we then will invite them into what we call confirmation day. So you're right. The process is so important. And most of these brands, again, their eyes are on the ball, the right ball, which is running their business every day. So they don't have time for this on the side. But then what we pay is really, we pay in the form of growth and finding the right franchisees to drive our growth.
Yeah, so important. Thank you so much. So there it is, folks, what it takes to be a successful emerging brand franchisor. And who better to share that with us than Carrie Gilly, president of Franchise Fastlane. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Don. So good to be here.
Great to see you.
Great to see you too.